Mohonk Mountain House, which by the time you're done here, everybody will have a description of this place. I heard, and I know nothing actually, someone contradicted this last night, that The Shining was either set here in the book or filmed here. But I think that's untrue according to informed sources. So we're going to have to get to the bottom of that before the next 3 days are over. But it is shining-like, apparently. And I don't mean that in the bright sense. Although I think, not to go on and on about that, I think you'll enjoy it. We've been here before twice with video summits, and we were a little nervous coming here. Some of our staff said, "Oh, I've been there, don't go there," but at that time. But then universe, I don't mean to prejudge your conclusions, but universally people came away saying, "Hey, that was great, I love that place." You can go hiking in the mountains, you can, there's actually free golf. I don't know why, it's after the season, I think, is the reason. And you know, there's a great spa. Apparently it's the #1, at least a couple of years ago, was the #1 rated spa in the East, according to some rating service. I should have more info than that, but you could look it up. So we're delighted you're here. We're going to have 3 great days of content about the world of television, that is the future world, in a way, of television, focusing heavily on changes in media buying approaches and practices, and we're some great speakers who are going to talk about what's happening and what's to come. But I want to get started. We want to get started this morning with our breakfast sponsor. You're going to hear from Dan Lovey, Executive Director of SimSeed. I asked him this morning, how do you want me to say that? He wants us to say it SimSeed. But he'll tell you what it stands for and what they're all about. Please welcome Dan Lovey.
Great job to the MediaPost folks. This is just, amazing to put all this together. I'm Dan Lovey. I'm the Executive Director of SIMC. We pronounce it SimC, and that's the Social and Interactive Media Consortium, which I'm sure everyone has heard of by now. We've actually been in stealth mode for about a year, and mark this on your calendars. This is our coming out party, our world premiere. So that means we have to look a little more, more polished and presentable. Please be gentle. I'm an engineer. Sometimes it's easy to forget why we're all here. It's easy to get lost in the jargon and what is programmatic and how we buy things and and all the data. And the thing I always tell people is this is not enterprise software sales. This is still fashion and this is still culture. And that at the end of the day, we're not, this is still an advertising business, and at the end of the day, I think everyone wants to be a rock star. So how do you become a rock star? And at the end of the day, at the very end of the day, it's still about telling effective stories. We can talk about KPIs, and we can talk about audience attribution, and we can talk about all the things that we talk about, but it's still about reaching in and making a connection with someone's emotional brain. And that we're using these tools to be able to do that, but sometimes I feel that we lose sight of what that is, and I hope everyone's now humming that tune in the back of their mind, or maybe I'm dating myself, but that that kind of advertisement is the kind of things that rock stars are made of. So there are problems to solve. How do you get to scale? How do you tell effective stories? How do you manage data? How do you manage data transparency? How do you make this new word programmatic meaningful? How do you take everything that we're doing to the next level? And my favorite part about that slide is the little helmet, the safety helmet that the little guy is wearing. So we have a different approach to this, and we have a different way that we're thinking about it. The first thing you have to do is get to scale, and you have to be at massive scale to have any effect. That we've all seen all the small tests, and we've all seen the small trial projects, but we're at a point now where enough has been proven out that the challenge now is how do you effectively get to scale, and you can't be a rock star without scale, and you can't tell an effective story without scale. And so that's what we're focused on. So the first answer that we believe is true is it's about standards. That right now everyone is talking different languages, the systems aren't really working together. We formed this consortium to really focus on and talk about these standards. And whether it's a gold standard, whether it's, let's make sure everyone's electricity works the same at 120 volts and 60 hertz so we can all invent light bulbs. And so we've been doing this in a very collaborative way, that the standards that we've been producing and working on have been in concert with other companies. And so we're acting as a quarterback for that, but that's in terms of how we believe we get to scale, it's about how we get to how we establish those standards. And lo and behold, we have a little, I guess I'm not supposed to use the word Lumascape, but this is our little Lumascape about some of the people that we're working with and how we're interacting with them. Simply coming out with a standard doesn't help you unless you have everybody agreeing to participate and work with it. And so one of my goals here as part of our world premiere is to be able to have people join. That we are functioning as a standards body. And as such, we are working and getting input from everybody here. I'm hoping to both tell everyone what we're doing, but also hear and learn about what everyone else is doing. So, this is, we've all worked with standards and we've all worked with collaborations. Often it's a messy and miserable process that leads to years of inefficiency and pain. We're trying to skip over that. We're trying to go right to that heart of that matter first, so that we can spare ourselves the maze and the painful paths through that. So that's a great speech, I think. It's a good speech. The question though is it working? Is it really happening? Is it making sense? So the answer is yes, it is. We've actually produced an initial standard for television retargeting. That is, we can take digital information, digital events, and retarget that into a television experience. To do that, we have, oh, here we go. All right, let's see what happens.
Step one. Starting to wake up. Step two.
Nothing wrong with a healthy obsession.
So what we did was we actually created a digital to TV retargeting program, running it on commercial systems. And to do that, we invented our own little company, KPD Toothpaste, which stands for our founder's initials. Produced a commercial, and we're now running that as a small test campaign. We have a full presentation of that on our website, so please go to the website, take a look at it. When I was showing this to a contact of mine at MediaOcean, he identified this actor, who I didn't know who it was. So I've decided that for the first 5 people who go to the website and correctly identify that actor, you get a SimC mug. So please visit the website. Please enter early and often. Any questions on this? How we're doing this? First of all, it was hard. It was complicated. We have a lot of pieces working together, companies working together. We are playing by standard rules, and we have our own bits of standards. But this is very much a typical ad tech kind of play. So you'll see terms that you know, and some players that you know, and some people that that you're not as familiar with. Sure. By the way, that's my plant. This is a Tim Ware. Tim is one of our partners and partner companies at Tremor Video. So what happens here is you're able to create essentially a digital signal, whether it's a visit to a web page, whether it is putting something in a shopping basket, anything that might happen in the digital world, you can then send a signal, and then either on a linear TV opportunity or an addressable television opportunity, you'll replace it with that ad. Like I said, if you go to the website, we have a full video presentation of that. And if anyone's interested, I've got the full demo in my car that I can set up and show people if they want to dig deeper. Does that make it feel clear? Does it? To sequentially answer. Correct. Absolutely. And one of the interesting things we're working with is we have some partner companies that are also retargeting from television to digital. So by combining these two, we're able to tell sequential stories. Something can happen on the digital space, and then something can trigger a television event, which can then trigger back, tell that sequential story that people have been wanting to do. So we have now all the pieces in place to do that. And we're actually starting to talk to various brands and advertisers about running, some initial pilot programs through this. Simc.tv, www.simc.tv.
Throughout the day, if you could just state your name and company when you ask a question, I'll bring the mic to you.
Hi, I'm John Toronto from Innovid. I wanted to know who your main competitors were.
So we're a collaborative consortium, so we don't believe we compete with anybody. We are trying to forward this industry. We are working with the IAB. We are working with the SCTE. We've just been listed as a collaborative group for the IABM, which is the European version of the NAB. And so we've created a small ad tech startup within our organization to kind of prove this forward, but we have no desire to be in the ad tech business, essentially. That our victories are around getting to scale, and that means this group deciding that this is a reasonable set of standards, and that rather than competing against everybody else, that it's much like everybody adopting the gold standard, we can then all have unified currency. So and I don't mean to dodge the question, but we're not really competing. We're trying to create a collaboration between all the parties.
Thanks. Keith Johnson with Wonderman. I'm hoping at some point you could talk a little bit more about the how you're connecting this, whether it's through cookies, IP address, and really the end point to that is, what's the accuracy? And also, what's the scalability today, and where do you see that being in the next 3 years in terms of reach for consumers in the U.S. and abroad, and then just availability of media against that reach?
Sure, and we're actually not trying to solve that particular problem because our partners have. So, for example, one of our partners that's produced this demonstration is DataZoo. So we are relying on their audience segments and their technical capability and their ability to do the things that they do. What we're providing is a common language so that when DataZoo is working with Tremor, is working with our CDN providers, working with our inventory partners, there's a common language for that. So that when a customer says, this is great, I want to use DataZoo, or I want to use MediaMath, or I want to use Crux, you're able to do that without having to do wholesale switches of campaigns. So in some ways, it's scary because you're no longer in these private siloed events or marketplaces. You're in an open exchange, and so that's our end result. So for example, DataZoo has a very nice device graph. We're tying directly into that, but we're also creating a signaling capability that is open and uniform between all the data providers. So over time, anybody who's got a very interesting way of accessing that data or analyzing that data can participate in this exchange, and it's up to advertisers and customers to decide how to use that. Again, I don't mean to dodge the question, But that's, the true answer is we're not, we're relying on state-of-the-art and best-of-breed partners to do that. So we have the technology in place right now to start our initial basic pilot programs. We've been getting a lot of interest in this kind of sequential dynamic storytelling. We've also started working on dynamic content, that once you've made these data connections, you can actually change what the viewer is seeing based on information and data. So the kinds of things that you see in display advertisements, you've shopped on Amazon for that pair of boots, and all of a sudden those boots are following you everywhere. We can now do that with video as well. And all that's leading up to interactivity. And as I was talking to the folks at Innovid, we're not trying to be a new competitive entity in interactivity, but come up with a way that all the interactive capabilities are shared amongst everyone. That everybody has seen the pilot programs where interactivity generates a huge whatever measure you want, except everybody says, but how do I get to scale? And as we said before, you get to scale through a standardization and a set of collaborations. And so that's, when we talk about interactivity, it's not about let's come up with a new and different way of managing interactivity. Let's come up with a way that everybody can agree on a standard to be able to do that. Data, I ran data mining at Yahoo for a number of years, and the kinds of things that people can do and the kinds of things that people are doing there's still a gap, and that a lot of that still requires a lot of scale. And as as my mantra is, once you have a standard and once you have a collaboration, you can start doing those kinds of large-scale data-driven marketing. And we're setting up an exchange through a number of our partners, and that initially we'll probably be operating that, but we're actually looking for a home for that as well. So please, join us. We are somewhat overrepresented by tech and data folk. We want to be balanced with agencies and customers to make this work. So please, again, I'm Dan Lovey. Go visit the website, and I look forward to meeting all of you this week. Questions?
Thanks a lot, Dan. We appreciate that, and thanks to SimC for breakfast. And you're here for the full duration?
Yeah, I am, yes.
Okay, so if you have any further questions, see Dan. And
Thank you.
yeah, thank you. So we're going to take about 10 minutes to just kind of clear the room, clear the tables, and we'll be back with some content. Thanks a lot.